Okay, or little lunch? All good? Thank you. Could I have a motion to resume standing orders, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Murray, and I thank you. All in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, we resume on page 90. It's the item GOV 32/19, the monthly operational report, which we all look forward to for May. And I'll hand over to who? You. Mr. CE. I have a move in a second. No, I don't. Sorry. Apologise. I apologise. I move to resume. Can I have a move in a second, please, to deal with this item, please? Councillor Bronwyn Petrie, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Murray, and I thank you. And now I'll hand over to our CE.
Happy to take questions by exception, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Questions to our CE or any of our senior staff to do with our monthly report, councillors? Councillor Very, yes?
Question, Fiona. Fiona, I don't think it's in the monthly report, but I noticed this morning come to town, there's yellow dots on the road on the Mount Lindsay and white dots for when it's going to be repainted. The roads and traffic meeting, we resolved to paint most of Mount Lindsay with yellow lines for the snow. Is that the case why the yellow and white are on the road?
Through the Mayor, I suggest that is exactly the point. Yes. So they've been spotting for the line marking during the week. It's ongoing and will be completed within the next 1 or 2 weeks.
Thank you. Questions, councillors, to do the report? Councillor Bronwyn, yeah, you indicating?
Sorry, I thought there might have been more.
Don't get shy on me.
Oh, never.
No, I know that.
I was just wondering, it's really great that we've been successful in getting another $780,000 in the Stronger Country Communities grants. I was just wanting an update on progress on completing the works that we've already got. I know some haven't yet started.
Yep.
And I was wondering if we actually do have a time frame for the Memorial Hall redevelopment. And then we've got a few others.
So each and every project is actually listed in the monthly operational report and about where we're up to. Yep, so there's the buildings primarily. So in terms of the Memorial Hall at this stage the page 119.
119, Kylie?
Yep, 119. So they're scattered throughout, but the example is 118, 119. And you'll see in there the schedule of Stronger Country Community Fund grants. And within that schedule, you'll also see the milestones for each of those projects, which is when we essentially get paid for them. So milestone 1, 2, and 3. You'll see there when the next milestones are actually due. And what we have is a deed or funding agreement whereby we manage what that progress should be to have our accounts completed. So none of the milestones are actually up to number 2. All of the first invoices have been paid at this point in time. And in terms of that, with the Memorial Hall specifically, you'll see there the scope for external consultants to be advertised in Tenderlink, expressions of interest received by some consultants, first payments being received. So we're only at the scoping stage for the Memorial Hall complex at this point in time, which is in line with our funding agreement. The next one, as I said, is due on the 30th of the 11th of this year. So that'll be the next time that we actually put that into for payment.
Because it'll be really good when that comes online, because we know our tourism operators are hurting because of Bald Rock and the other fires. But once that comes online, I presume we will be advertising it as a convention centre, etc. Venue, etc. With all the seating and
the hall. I would think so, Councillor. Yes.
Now, next
the final completion date on that one, just so that we're aware, based on that point, is not until the end of September 2020. So that's when the project is due to be completed. So that's what we'll be trying to tick off.
The other one on page 29, it refers to the fires that we had earlier in the year, 2 catastrophic fires. I'm wondering, have we yet been able to ascertain the cost of those fires purely in just the firefighting efforts? And if not, can we write to the Minister and ask for a cost? And also, following on from that, page 145 in our road networks, what plans we have to do cool burns on our roadsides throughout the Shire. So that
and the road reserves.
Yeah, so that we aren't contributing to the problem.
Councillor, before Kylie, you reply, Councillor, can I ask, when you say costings from the council or costing from the state?
What it's cost the community, I know we haven't got a cost on lost infrastructure. We've got
Right,
affected
Yep.
farmers,
Yep.
etc. Big costs. There's obviously effect on our local township,
Yeah.
let alone the water they took.
Yep.
I was just actually wondering, in pursuing our previous motion that is going to the country mayor's thing,
Yep.
what that cost?
Yep.
Because I understand it is massive,
Yeah, it
like
would
mega
have been.
massive.
Yep.
And I think finding out that cost certainly helps us in our argument that
Yep.
cost can be greatly mitigated by doing those
Yep.
works we're requesting.
Yep. Happy to take to them all. Kylie, did you want to reply to the other? or-
Oh, I was only going to ask a question of clarity. For council's concurrence, we're still in line with the section 44 requirements for our claims that relate specifically
Yep.
to council expenditure, so that's going along fine. But that may well be a question for the recovery group as well, to try and get us that more broader cost of what the fires have cost our
Yep.
community in future.
I'll hand it over to the CE for some comment.
Through you, Mr Mayor, next time I'm speaking with the Office of Emergency Management, Mr Ross O'Shea, I'll ask him that question. Last time I spoke to him, which was about a month ago about it, all the costs weren't in. I'm not sure whether the government's going to be free to give us that information, though. He didn't say so much, but I got the impression that it might be held in confidence.
Only through shame, I would suspect. But I think it should not be confidential. It should be,
Agree.
because the drama with the Section 44 is all individual agencies lose any responsibility in their budgets. It just becomes, for want of a better term, open slather, because it's an open checkbook. And I think the community deserves to know, and it should not be hidden in a plethora of different budget line items. We need to know whether through our local member, Ms Saffin, that we get an absolute costing. And it would also be interesting to know the Queensland side as well. It was an incredibly, and it's a catastrophic fire that we're going to feel as a community for years to come.
Yeah.
And our biodiversity and our local natural attractions are also going to feel it. So, and as we heard from one of the local farmers, it's taken him 18 years to replace the fences from the last time they had a catastrophic fire. Now he's got to start all over again. So it's highly unacceptable if it's hidden.
And I know, I'm not, CE sits here beside me, we're happy to drive that at whatever level, councillor.
Now, my other question was to do with page 121 and the parks, gardens, open spaces.
121.
Oh, sorry, and I didn't get an answer on. So I just want to know about our road reserves, that we are going to have a plan of
apologise.
burning them off.
I can answer that. Through Mr Mayor, there's no budget for controlled burning on road reserves.
There you go.
Well, I think we might need to look at it, especially coming into summer. We need to have some strategic ones, because they're obviously a point of ignition for arsonists. Page 121. The beautification, second item there. I'm just wondering with the, and going back to my first question about the stronger communities, we're doing the Main Street, finalising Main Street. This second block up here near the Commonwealth Bank, and I did ask before about the gardens. I stepped it out yesterday. We've got a business there at the potting shed, would actually like to have a garden bed in front of their shop. A lot of our shops don't like them, but they actually do want one. And it's 39 steps from the corner up to the start of their business. The one that starts from this end is 48 steps from the commercial, so it's a similar distance. And I know it has to be in keeping, and I thought that was one of the reasons they're sort of being knocked back on getting a garden bed. But if you look at outside Dr. Pilgrim's, there's one on his side, but not opposite where Harry's office is. There's one at the Telstra building here, but there's not one on the bakery side. So I really don't understand why there would be an issue in putting one in front of the potting shed. I know they're talking about putting one on the corner. I'm not sure how that would interfere with the driveway through what is now the heating shop. But I don't think it is out of, it would still fit with the fact that we do have a garden beds in this block, stepped in, and the next one up, stepped in away from the corner, like we have a second garden bed. So I'm just not sure what why there's any pushback on it.
So the main one, so I sent out an email in response to questions. I'm still waiting on the design from John to make sure that it's the right site distances, etc. And I can certainly ask him to consider that if that's something that council would like to see. I guess what we're trying to aim for is some level of consistency within the main street, so it feels so that the beautification is somewhat uniform. I guess, and provides the amenity. That's probably the bigger the concern. For me, as soon as I get John's plans, as I've indicated that he was supposed to give them to us a week or so ago for construction, and as soon as I get those, I'm more than happy to send them out as we did last night. The only reason I hadn't responded to the question at that point in time was I didn't have a lot more to offer other than what we'd already put in, which is what I sent out again to council.
Thank you for that, Colin. That's what I'm saying. It's not inconsistent with the rest of the street because I've stepped it and it's a similar type garden bed in all the others. And we also have these other two instances where you don't have to do it on the other side, but I mean, you easily could with the room there. But that was it. And the final thing I had was just to thank council and thank Gillian for arranging for those bins for the high school to collect their recyclable bottles as a fundraiser for the school, which is a great initiative. So thank you.
Any other questions to our CA, Kylie, or to Fiona to deal with our monthly report, councillors? No? Apologise. Councillor Very.
Yeah, I got 3 this time.
To do with the monthly report,
Yeah.
councillor?
The Lagoon Playground with the road down there, I noticed they've removed it. Have we got plans to put that anywhere at this stage, Kylie?
I don't think the plans are finalised yet, councillor. We're still in the initial stages with the Stronger Country Community Funds of doing the urban design plans,
Yeah.
which will then enable the community to have a little bit more of a conversation. Our indicative conversations with those groups indicate it'll probably be somewhere near the hall. The exact location still needs to be further identified.
And that'll go in with the toilet, I dare say, when we do the toilet there as well.
That is correct. So the tenders went out on Tuesday for 4 toilets. So that's across several Stronger Country Communities projects for all of those locations where we have toilets within parks.
And the Liston Hall, how are we going with that upgrade?
Good news, we were down there yesterday, so Heidi had meetings with builders on site and have called for the quotes to satisfy our probity requirements. So there were 2 members of the Progress Association there yesterday, as well as 2 builders who had expressed an interest in quoting for those particular works.
That's good. And the last one's just an answer to Councillor Petrie. With the fires out there, the epiphytes take 20 to 30 years to recover. So we're looking that long down the track.
Any other questions, councillors, to do with the report? Just to do with the, just to finish, Fiona, I need to commend you and your staff on the wonderful work you've been doing out there to do with the many road projects we've got going on. Please pass out the councillors' thanks, especially with Fraser's Cutting and Upper Damasfield with that bit of road work. It's a big paddock we cover, and I think he's doing an outstanding job. Just from comments from the area, especially down that Fraser's Cutting and Plain Station area, they're very appreciative of that work because they feel a bit forgotten, and it's hard to cover all corners, but we tend to get there in the end. But I do pass on that and the good work that staff are doing. So thank you. All right, councillors, the officer's recommendations there, all happy to receive and note. Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, we'll move on to page 91. It's item COV 33/19, annual remuneration for councillors and the mayor 219-220. Can I have a move and a second to deal with this item, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Second by Councillor Very, and I thank you. And I'll hand over to our CE. No? Yes?
Yeah.
You deal with this one?
Yeah. 3, Mr Mayor, every year, not only for local government, but also for other levels of government, the remuneration tribunal determines, mainly to keep up with inflation, well, actually that's the reason, determines the remuneration for all councils, being it metro, small, through to the enormous councils and everyone in between. And basically this report summarises their findings for this year, for not only us, but I'd imagine that every council in the state would have a similar report in. And I'll take questions by exception.
Any questions to our CE to deal with this report, councillors? Reports there to determine. All in favour? Against? Carried. Bear with me. Come on. Page 117, your hard copy, councillors. GOV. I apologise. Thought I'd skipped one. Yep. Okay. Page 14, 114, item GOV 34/19, Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference to be held the 14th to the 16th of October 2019. Cover moving a second here, please. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Murray, and I thank you. And I'll hand over to our CEO to present this one.
Through Mr Mayor, I might suggest that there be a slight amendment to the report.
And I'm happy to move that amendment, Mr CEO. The amendment being that in the officer's recommendation in under 1, that approve the attendance of the Mayor, the Chief Executive and the Deputy Mayor to represent Council Local Government New South Wales Annual Conference at Warwick Farm. And we need to tie that up so it's always in there. So
the recommendation would have to have a note there, and that the policy be amended to reflect the resolution.
So will that be in 1? Yes. So put it at the end. So I'm moving an amendment there. I do apologise, Councillor Sawyer, and to anyone who's coming on as Deputy Mayor, that always needs to be in there, and it was an oversight. Yeah, that's fine. It's fine, Councillor. Happy to move it. Can I have a seconder there for that, please? Councillor Very, thank you. Any comment, questions to do with that, councillors? In the near coming months, we do need to get some motions together. Obviously, CE and I having a yarn this morning, and we'll be taking that the same motion we had at the country mayors the other day to that very meeting, which was unanimous down there, and we'll keep pursuing that as far and high as we can. Councillor Very, question to do with the report?
Yeah, when do you want the motions to take down? I've got 3 suggestions.
Good, we usually, what are we, July,
They'll
August?
need to go to the July meeting,
Yeah,
so probably at the next workshop.
yep. Think so, councillor, yes. June, July, because then they go in that business paper, you're correct. Yep, August sometime. Okay. And to deal with that, councillors, I'll just announce that we have in August on the 13th, and it'll be in your calendar. I haven't shared with our PA yet, but sorry to drop it on, but our President of Local Government New South Wales, Linda Scott, she's coming up to visit our wonderful area on the 13th, and I don't know what day of the week that is. It'll be a 3:30 meeting. She is going around the whole state. She's done over 100 councils. And I did, with the CEO beside me, mention her that we're on the end of the line again. So August is a gig, and she's staying overnight, so that we will have a meal with her that night. So it'd be good to catch up with Linda, but that'll be in your calendar in August. Yeah, so it is. So it was good to see, and we have a great relationship with her, and she refers to the CEO and myself as troublemakers.
The two biggest troublemakers.
That's what she's told us. And we're happy to have that title. Okay, recommendations there, councillors. All in favour of the recommendation? Against? Carried. Thank you. Page 117, GOV 35/19, Tenterfield Shire Code of Conduct 218, Procedures for Administration of the Code of Conduct 218 and Code of Meeting Practice 218. Can I move in the second here to deal with this item, please? Councillor Mike Petrie, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Don Forbes, thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to Erica. Welcome, Erica. You've stuck in. You're about the 6th person to sit in that seat this morning, so hook in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Mr. Mayor, this report is to advise council that the 2018 Model Code of Conduct for local councils in New South Wales, the 2018 Procedures for the Administration of the Model Code of Conduct for local councils in New South Wales, and the 2018 Model Code of Meeting Practice prescribed in the New South Wales Local Government Act 1993 and the Local Government General Regulation 2005 on the 14th of December last year are required to now be adopted following public exhibition. There were no community comments submitted during the public exhibition, and community comment periods from the 27th of March 2019 to the 8th of May 2019.
Thank you, Erica. And just to share with the council, I am off to Sydney this weekend to attend a mayoral training, and for deputy mayors also, training weekend, and I know on the agenda that these things will be dealt with to bring us all light, and I know I'll come back a better person. How about that? Thank you, councillor. Councillor, there's always room for improvement, and I note that. Yes, of course it was, the way he does. Councillor Petrie, Bronwyn Petrie, you have a question to the report?
Just one on page 13 of the Code of Meeting Practice. It says 5.18 at the top, webcasting of meetings. And it says councils will be required to webcast meetings, blah, blah, blah. And it says, note, councils must include supplementary provisions in their adopted codes of meeting practice that specify whether they're to be live streamed or recordings uploaded on the website at a later time. Now, we currently upload the next day, don't we?
No, this is live stream.
But now we are
We're
we?
live streamed and then we leave it on the website.
Oh, because I thought we had a drama with the,
No, we're just live stream.
oh, you're fixing it. Okay, well, that's all.
Live to where?
Whether need to.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Oh, yeah? I mean, Stanthorpe Library watching us as we speak. That's it. Any other questions to do with the report, councillors? No other questions? The report's there for adoption. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Thank you, Erica. Councillor, we move on to page 20, and as Paul Della, our finance manager, he'll be the seventh person to sit in that seat this morning. Welcome, Paul. Item GOV 36/19, Finance and Accounts for May. Can I have a move in a second to deal with this one, please? Councillor Verry, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Murray, thank you. And Paul, we welcome you back from a little break. I hope everything's in order, and the 14 people we had to replace you with, big gig, but you're back now, and I hope you had a good break, and welcome back and get back into it. So I'll hand over to Paul Dell, our finance manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, the finance report for the 31st of May shows that our general account had $4,275,859.84, and our trust account $313,266.50. Our investments, as per the schedule, show that we had $10,331,327.59 invested at that time. I expect that to increase. There was some payments came through towards the end of the month, so that will increase for next month, I believe. Happy to take any questions.
Questions to Paul, our finance manager, to do the report, councillors? No? I'm sorry, councillor, you got a question?
Just on the, so, and actually, I might be in the wrong bit, sorry. That's the next one, capital expenditure.
So we're going to hold off? Fine. Okay, councillors, the report's there to receive and note. All in favour? Against? Carried. Move on to page 123. Apologise. 124. GOV 37/19. Capital expenditure report as of the 31st of May 2019. Moving a second here, please, councillors. Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Mike Petrie, thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to our Manager of Finance and Technology.
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor. The capital report shows the capital expenditure against budget to the 31st of May. Happy to take any questions by exception.
Thank you. You indicated, Councillor Bronwyn, yes? Yep.
Just two things, Paul. One was on the last page, the Tennefield sludge removal went over budget. Is that just because it turned out to be much worse than expected? Sorry?
Yep.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, yes, I believe that's the case. It was just
Then my other one was under finance and technology, on the first page, down the bottom. The actuals at 233, but then it's got, so we're like way over the budgets of 57. I was just wondering what's happened there, because on the individual line items, it doesn't look as dramatic as 338% over.
Just quickly, the CE's got some comments and some answers here, councillor.
through you, Mr Mayor, you might remember a while ago that we had vacuum trucks go to the Tenterfield water treatment plant to downstream of the plant where we vacuumed and cleaned out the lagoon. I suspect, and I'd have to double check, but I'd suspect that sludge removal for that, bearing in mind that it wasn't budgeted for, I suspect that has added, as there's only one generic item for sludge removal, that the cost of the removing of basically the heavy materials that have gone through the filtration plant, through the sock, through the settling pond, through the last filter, and it ended up in the creek. That creek was vacuumed and cleaned, and the cost of that, there was over a million litres of material vacuumed out of the creek. You can actually see the sand in the bottom now. I suspect that's what that was.
And I just need to add, utmost respect to previous councils, it wouldn't have been done for years. And it's something that we took on as cleaning up all that area.
Hadn't been done since 1951.
There you go. Well, that's more than years.
My second one, in relation to that finance and technology, I just think that the budget figure is wrong because it says 57,318, which should be 370,000 something, shouldn't it? And then it gives you a skewed, that it's 338.44%. It shouldn't be anything like that.
Through you again, Mr Mayor. The actual full year budget is the 407,701 in that third column. That's the full year budget review against the year-to-date actuals in that first column. That second column, it looks to me like it's picked up. Oh, sorry, the second column is the year-to-date budget. And I get, it looks like there's an issue with some of the cash flow timing in there, but the real comparison is between the full year budget, the 407, and the 233 actual amount. So we're actually underspent.
Yeah, but over on the side, it's saying that we're way overspent. See in that second column, budgets May, year to date.
Yes.
It says 57,000. That actually adds up to 373,725. So is that just a misprint there? That's putting our percentage spent way out of whack?
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's adding all of the percentages were shown as over budget, as opposed to 200% of the 407.
Apologies for that. We'll get that fixed.
Okay. Any other questions to Paul, our finance manager, to deal with the report, councillors? No? The report's there to receive and note, councillors. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Paul. I apologise. We've got the addendum item to deal with, councillors. It is item GOV 38/19. Thank you, Kylie. And can I move in a second to deal with this item, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Mike Petrie, thank you. And once again, I'll hand over to Paul to present this item.
Thanks again, Mr Mayor. This is really just a housekeeping issue. Each year, councils are required to review their investment policy. We only reviewed this policy and updated it fairly significantly in May of 2018. I'm not proposing any changes to it. I think it's working quite well, but just in terms of meeting our legislative requirements, I've put it up for review today.
Questions to Paul to do with this last item? No? The officer's recommendations there, councillors. All in favour to adopt? I apologise.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
I thought you had a
Thanks, Nolene. We'll start. I'll ask again. All in favour of adopting the investment policy, councillors? All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. We're getting a bit nervous over here, councillor. All right. Page 126, councillors, is the start of our reports from delegates and committees. And the first one's on page 126. It's item RC10/19. It's a report from our Rock Meeting Board of Region of Organisation of Councils, 10th of May. Being the chair of that, I'm happy to move along those lines. If I can have a seconder, please. Councillor Murray, I thank you. Happy to take any questions, councillors, comments to deal with that. Councillor Bronwyn?
Just the one on page 129.
Yep.
we're under Mr. James McTavish's thing. The last paragraph, it says, ongoing issues have been made worse by changes in the New South Wales government. What changes are they referring to specifically?
Thanks, Mr. Seah.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, since the ABC exposure, what happened to the Murray-Darling, the Natural Resources Access Regulator was formed, which has been going now a bit over a year. It was a bit like when Transport for New South Wales was formed 9 years ago. The pool of people from that genre and that profession is X. So then they've hived off 150 people to go and be in NRAR, which came out of the same pool as people that were working in DOI water, formerly DPI water, to duplicate not duplicate, but to remove the governance framework from DOI water and have a separate entity. So they depleted somewhat the expertise that was in DOI water. And on top of that, you've got Water New South Wales, which is the strategic and business arm of water in New South Wales. So you depleted some people from then as well, because there's only a certain number of people with water experience in New South Wales, and now there's 3 entities, not 2. So that's what James would have been referring to.
Any other questions, councillors? Comment to do with the meeting? Councillor Verry, yes? No, you're right. Well, while you're looking for it, I need to once again commend our CE with with the report and the wonderful relationship he's formed with our cross-border commissioner. He's just about got him on speed dial, because also under James's title, he's the regional town water supply coordinator. He's got a big gig, and he's been here in the initial conversations, Mr. CE, when we had NRAR and DOI water here. And he's all over what he's doing, and it's good to have that relationship. So I do thank you for the relationship you've formed there. He's been doing a great job. You right, Gary? Yep.
It says there about the Olympic and Paralympic Games. I think we missed out on the Commonwealth Games. I think we should start preparing now, and that was going to be my recommendation for a motion for Local Government Association, one of the motions I'm proposing.
Good.
So, it's a long way down the track, but if we don't start preparing now, we won't be there at all.
That's right. So you're referring to, councillor, to the chair of that Councillor Mayor South East Queensland one. Yeah. Yeah. He was good, actually. Very interesting. And I can share with the question I asked me, it's not all the councils in that area are members of that either. There's a few that aren't, and that's their gig. But he was good. Yeah, no, happy to be supportive of that, councillor. But it is a good group, and Councillor Murray, you've been a delegate there for a while, and very worthwhile organisation, and we look forward to our meetings as a rule.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to comment on, pardon me, Mrs. Kelly Ferran,
Yep.
CEO of Friendly Faces. I think that was a very, very worthwhile and extremely well needed
Yep.
community.
Yep.
What she's done.
Totally. And Kel's been in this town a fair bit, and she's got everything to do with women's health and men's health too, with running those shows. She's a good person. Okay, councillors, reports there. All happy to receive and note? Against? Carried. Councillors, next report's on page 134 of your hard copy. It's RC 1119. Reports Committee Delegation, New England Joint Organisation. Being a member of that, I'm happy to move along those lines also. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Bronwyn, thank you. Questions? No questions. As you can see by the minutes there, water's a big issue, and it is noted through the report in many places that we're interested with the status of water with our member council areas, so we can all get together and do stuff. Not all the councils, Glennis is in a little bit better position, but definitely Armidale and other areas aren't going so good. So we need to keep working together to build better water infrastructure and guarantee our water for our townships. The reports there, councillors, all happy to be supportive of the report. All in favour? Against? Carried. Items RC 12, it's on page 141, your hard copy, /19. It's the report from the Country Mayors Association once again, being the delegate there, happy to move along those lines. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Sawyer, thank you. Happy to take any questions, councillors? Just to share with it, and thanks, councillors, for being so supportive of the motion we took to the country mayors to increase fire management activities. It was unanimous, and with all the councillors. So, I mean, what I say, well, hopefully we continue on with that with our local government association through the state. So we will. The report's there. All happy to approve the report. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Page 150, item RC 13/19, report from the Roads and Traffic Committee meeting, being the chair of that. Happy to move that also. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Peters, thank you. And happy to take any questions. Councillors, to repeat myself with those late items this morning, we've tabled the correspondence there to do with item 2 with that from our federal member, and although it wasn't on the agenda to do with Minister Toole, to do with the Brookston Way, it was in the meeting before this, but I wanted to have it tabled so everyone was aware where that's at. Happy to take any questions. Councillor Bronwyn, yes?
Thanks, Mr Mayor, and I hope that review does show that they can have it back, the Brookston Way.
Yes, yes.
Now, but my question is in relation to page 156, the visibility concern at the top at Jennings.
Yeah,
Was talking about visibility problem coming onto the New England from Duke Street.
yeah.
For small car, it says there's high grass and the street slopes fairly steeply,
Yep.
and there was discussion and suggested that there be an inspection. Obviously, the street slope might take a bit of work, but did someone go and actually do anything with the grass straight away, not wait for an inspection?
No, I regularly transverse that road, coming away from my favourite watering hole, and I'll challenge it. It's mowed. The whole thing's mowed. So I really don't know what that's about. There's a little bit of grass around a big red gum tree, but the rest of it's mowed like a lawn, like that. And I'm not doubting but I need to who that came from and find out what they're actually talking about. Because if it's the area I'm looking at, it's fine. No, please, no. Not after my record, thank you. Any other questions? Yes, no, definitely will. Because Councillor Very, I'll throw you in. It did come through their chamber, I think, didn't it? Oh, Progress Association, I'm sorry. Yeah, out there. But I'll talk to Brendan or one of the ladies out there, and hopefully I'm looking at the same area, but if it's the area I'm thinking of. Yeah. Yeah, right.
It was just the angle of the road more than the grass.
Okay.
Because in a small car, when you're coming up there,
Yep.
sort of looking up.
Yeah.
Because the road's funny, that's the message I understood.
Okay. Righto. But there is a slip lane there also when you come onto the highway. So anyway, let's see. Any other questions, councillors? Comment? No. The report's there. All happy to approve the report. All in favour? Against? Carried. Councillors, we'll move on to page 158. It's a notice of motion. Item NM4/19. Councillor Murray, being the author, you happy to move along those lines? Can I have a seconder there, please? Councillor Sawyer, I thank you. Councillor Murray, did you want to speak to the motion?
Well, the notice of motion is fairly self-explanatory, but I'd just like to add to that, Mr. Mayor, that the outline of the petition is self-explanatory, and to add to this, the petition, the amount of fuel that's in that area, which hasn't been burnt for 50 to 60 years, according to the locals.
Yep.
You'd know more about that than I would, Nolene. You've lived very close to that. And some of those houses are something like 10 to 15 meters away from that fence line between the national parks, et cetera. The fuel bill over the past 50 or 60 years transforms this situation into a highly volatile disposition. Lovegrass between Carries Gap and the town of Tenterfield is highly, highly dangerous. I mean, it doesn't seem an appropriate time to be talking about bushfires at the moment, but it's there. And if you know anything about burning lovegrass, it's almost unstoppable, which puts the town in, well, some of the residents in town in harm's way, I would have thought. Now, that's not part of the, that's not part of the motion, of course, but I just thought I'd add that to it.
Is 10 metres a big enough area, councillor?
Well, I didn't think it was, but I didn't do the motion. I thought, nothing like it. But they obviously,
Oh, you did do the motion.
well, I did, but I
You did
didn't,
the petition.
I didn't do the petition, sorry. But I would have thought that they would have a template that they'd work off. Parks, the conservation people.
I commend you on bringing it forward, councillor, and it's something that just marries in with everything we're doing at the moment, and happy to be supportive and drive this in any way we can to get it to where it needs to go.
Yeah.
But everything starts off. Any other questions to councillor Murray to do with the notice motion? Councillor Vera, I'll go to you, then councillor Bronwyn, then you, councillor. Thank you.
With this, I think 2012, we stuck not similar to this, but we stuck a motion through asking council to look at national parks, et cetera, and it was also mentioned there that this place hadn't been burnt for 50 or 60 years, and if you've got a strong southwester and that catches on fire, the whole town's at ember risk, and nothing's been done since. It doesn't look like getting done at all for various reasons. We were assured some was done, but it wasn't. So according to one of the captains at the time, he said that they promised they were going to do something. They went out and dropped a match and it went out and they come back home. So that was just going on memory from that last meeting when we put it through.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Bronwyn, you've indicated.
Yes, thanks, Mr Mayor. I agree with you that 10 metres is insufficient.
Just a question.
But regarding what's in here, I'm actually surprised there aren't some more residents, because I've had phone calls from a number of additional residents who join it, who are really in dread of what's going to happen if that lights up. And we're only lucky that Scrub Road fire didn't jump over and end up in there. Only that we happened to have those aircraft diverted here at the time. Now, talking to one of those residents, they have been in discussions with a parks officer in Glen Innes, and apparently she is looking at burning it, but I'm not sure how that will go. And Councillor Murray, it's a very appropriate time, because one of our worst fires actually occurred 46 days after frost, because the grass gets even more brittle. After 46 days of consecutive frost. The other worrying thing for those residents, of course, is that the fire management maps have delineated all their dams and their internal roads as watering points for Curry's Gap, which is almost, adds insult to injury. So happy to support, and I'm happy to, if Councillor Murray would consider increasing the meterage there, be even more supportive.
Just, councillor, with respect and take on board and to both the mover and seconder and you as a question, because it's in the petition, I just don't know how we go there. Like, it's in the petition.
Through you, Mr Mayor, yes, I did talk to them about
Yep.
that, but they seem to be completely oblivious of
Right.
distances.
Anyway.
So we thought we would leave it to
Yep.
the parks.
Yeah. Please respect what I said there, councillor, because it's there, but and supportive of it just doesn't sound like a big enough area to me.
No.
But anyway, councillor Mike Petrie, you've indicated.
Yeah, I was just going to bring that up, that about the 10 metres not being enough. I reckon it should be at least 50 metres. I think it should be advised to them that they should increase it to 50 metres.
But councillor, if I can, once again being the mover, happy as mayor to correspond with the National Parks and Wildlife as man through our council, because you brought it to council. It is support of the council, so we're happy to correspond and help drive this, because it just supports everything that we've been doing at the moment. I do commend you on being supportive of it. Councillor Bronwyn, yes?
Yeah, well, because we're supporting the petition, so in our letter of support,
Yeah.
could we add the words that we actually, as councillors, should
Yep.
we all vote that way?
Yep.
So that we actually believe that the
Buffer zone's not
buffer
big
zone
enough.
is insufficient
Yep.
and should be higher to provide not just protection for the town and for the neighbours, but
Yep.
also to allow better movement of,
Yep.
of vehicles, etc. So there's no defined within, when it comes to firefighting. There was a change went through some years ago that Rick Collis put through.
Yep.
Where it is an undefined amount.
Yep.
Um,
You're talking of the area of the buffer zone, councillor?
yeah, but, getting it to happen
Yep.
is another thing. We'd actually like to see them on all the public lands. with
Yeah.
that buffer zone. So perhaps in our letter of support, we can add that we actually believe the buffer zone
It should be more
at
increased.
least tripled.
Take it on board, councillor. Any other comments, questions to the mover or the seconder, councillors? Sorry, councillor Berry.
Yeah, I'd also like to add that this area be burnt ASAP. The whole Curry's Gap.
Well, we continually, that comes up continually at our RFS meetings, and we continually support that and ask for that. As a training area, whatever they want to refer to it as, practice burn, I don't know. But all the time, whatever.
The letter to National Parks, look, now that this area is actually under Glen Innes,
Yep.
so the letter will go to Glen Innes.
Yep.
As a,
My word. Councillor, yes?
Mayor, if I
Yep.
may comment, an important one of that may have been overlooked, the fact is that they will have to maintain that,
Yes,
the conservation fund, whatever they're called. They will have to continue to monitor that at all times so that council is
yep.
not involved in any.
It's a duty of care, councillor. Of course it should be. Yep. Okay, councillors.
We need an amendment. This says with the following text. That's the following text. Talk about the addition to the buffer zone or anything else.
Well, we can. We can.
We need an amendment to change it.
Well, we will, and thanks for your advice, Nolene. With the second paragraph, we will do an amendment there to because it says, the council provides a letter of support for the petition, that's fine. Residents board in Curry's Gap State Conservation Area be sent by council to the National Parks and Wildlife with the following text. So I think that's appropriate, and thanks, Nolene, again, for that advice that we need to probably make those changes in there. So it's gone through a public meeting that we're supportive of in our correspondence with National Parks, putting those couple of amendments in there. So maintain, just to do with the 10 metre buffer area, that it be increased, is that as simple as that? Yep. Looking at increasing this area? Yep.
So that's it.
Yep. Happy with that? Someone like to move that as an amendment? Sorry? Well, now's the time. Do you want to put that in there? Add a comment to the letter, the buffer zone should be increased by. Do you want? Neighbour thing. It's half a football field. Yeah. Yeah, no, 30 feet, nothing. Is it? Okay.
So it's been increased to 20 metres?
Under the new native vegetation biodiversity laws,
Yep.
internal roads can now go up to 30 metres. So
Okay.
we'd need it to be, should be at least 30 metres.
Okay.
So could we put the words there, should be increased to at least 30 metres?
Yep.
And then we can,
Yep. Councillor Murray being the mover and Councillor Sawyer the second. Are you happy with that amendment?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. We haven't got anybody moving that yet. Can I have some movers and seconders there? Councillor Peters, you moved it. Councillor Very, you've seconded it. I'll give you a spell, Councillor Bronwyn. Okay. Move and second. Any comment to do with the amendment? Oh, yep.
Should I just make one more comment here, Mr. Mayor?
My word.
Should we CC Aboriginals because they have a
My word.
vested interest in this?
Good point. Surprised they weren't more involved with the petition.
They're probably not aware.
Okay. Yep. Yep, no, happy to.
So that's to Moombaline.
Yeah,
Pardon?
to Moombaline.
Moombaline.
Yeah. Could even do a cultural burn there. What's wrong with that?
Right. Oh, yes, I would agree.
Okay. So righto, we'll get back on track. So to move and second, you happy with the amendment? Okay. Move and second, any comments to do with the amendment? We'll put the amendment, all in favour? Against, carried? Amendment now becomes part of the recommendation. All in favour of the recommendation? Against, carried. Thank you. Councillors, move on to page 162, it's the last item in our hard copy. It's item RES 519, council resolution registered for June 2019. Moving to seconder here, please. Councillor Murray, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Mike Petrie, I thank you. And I'll hand over to our CE to present the resolution register.
Happy to accept questions by exception, Mr Mayor.
Questions to our CE councillors to do with that? Councillor Bronwyn, yes?
I'm just wondering on the report itself, after the last meeting, we now have in our resolution registers confirmation of the minutes, noting financial reports, etc., that we don't normally have. So do we actually need them in there? Or I know they were resolutions of the meetings, but we normally keep this as an operational type report, don't we?
A bit of ongoing stuff, councillor, too?
Yeah.
With the comments, status. Yeah. Do you have a comment on Mr. CE?
I haven't really got a comment about it. I could put that across to our Chief Corporate Officer, what the legal requirement is for the resolution register, but
Because we normally don't have in our resolution register, every time we accept minutes, like every single motion of every single meeting, but we do from the last one.
Right.
And so it's got like
Give us an example, councillor.
page 28, confirmation of previous minutes. Page 20, page 35.
Right.
Accepted the local traffic committee report. Resolved that we note the resolution register. They're sort of just the ongoing administrative resolutions. Normally, our resolution register has always been stuff that we've resolved or that is being actioned,
Yeah.
etc. But now it's added. We're now getting all these administrative things put in here, which really are it's just a notation because they're in our minutes anyway.
Right.
So I'm just asking, is that the way it's going to be from now on, or this is going to end up as thick as Ben Hur?
Kylie, comment.
So I guess we were talking to Nolene about this, was trying to make sure that we did have a record and at least put everything in so that we didn't miss anything. It is just a register of the resolutions that require follow-up action, so those items drop off immediately after they're closed out by officers. So if council wishes to only have items that will extend over the month or not things that we're with a resolution to receive and note, more than happy to take that feedback and make the changes. The question is when we're putting that on to people, to put together the resolution register if people are away, etc. We're trying to get a full list of all of the resolutions that would be there plus any actions that are closed out.
Thanks, Holly. So do you mean next month, these May minutes and traffic reports, they'll go and the June ones will replace? Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, so to the actual body.
They will be completed.
Yeah.
So those actions will be complete. So as soon as we get our completed, so I think on that 29, you'll see all of the indications there of the C for complete. So all of those items will disappear and all you'll be left with is the A's and B's.
Okay, cool. No worries. So then with A's and B's, on page 18 and 19, my two questions relate to the water dispensing station at Urbanville. Is it still on track to be put in June? It says here it was supposed to be in March, but due to staff shortages, it hasn't been yet installed, but is expected this month. And I'm just wondering if that is still imminent. And my other question was what the delay is on the next page with the compulsory acquisition of the Crown land. Since March, it's been awaiting final plans and it's got no change. So did the plans actually come or are we still waiting for those plans?
Yep. Mr. C, you make some comments.
Through Mr
Councillor.
Mayor, the last update for the water dispenser was only on the 14th of this month, so I'm assuming that as it's unclear here, but it's actually would be in red because it's a lighter colour than it didn't come out in the print. So on the 14th of the 6th, there was an update saying the dispenser awaiting installation expected this month. So I'm assuming because someone went to the trouble of updating that that's a true reflection of what's going on. As for the compulsory acquisition, I've got a comment, but I'd have to get the confirmed with the acting director. The last time I spoke to the asset owner, which was David Council, was that the final plans weren't finished for that, but I'd have to ask Fiona whether I'm getting that confused with another section.
We do have some final plans, well, they're final design plans received from the designer. There's still queries from ourselves about some of the designs and the extent of the designs. There will be letters, preliminary letters going out to the residents on Mount Lindsay Road in the next couple of weeks, just to start commencing the process. We need to get surveyors on site. So the first process will be permission to go onto their land, to put some survey marks in and confirm that the plans, the drawings are all correct before proceeding with any land acquisition. So all in process, but it's just taking a little bit of time to get through.
Thank you, Fiona. Any other questions to do with the resolution, registered councillors? No? All happy to receive and note. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillors, that's the end of our open part of our meeting. I do need a motion to go into confidential, councillors. Moved by Councillor Very, seconder please. Councillor Murray, I thank you. To move into confidential. All in favour? Against? Carried.